Okay. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Dobré ráno, dámy a páni. I think we can start in a few seconds. I would like to welcome you in this Horizon 2020 Connections event, which is, by the way, the launch event of Horizon 2020 in Slovakia. For the beginning, let me introduce myself. My name is Daniel Straka, and I used to be a director of Slovak Organization for Research and Development Activities, and now I'm a head of Slovak Liaison Office for Research and Development in Brussels, which was established at the beginning of this year. At the beginning, I would like to thank to the organizers of this conference, which is Slovak Organization for Research and Development Activities, SOVA, with closely cooperation with the Ministry of Education, Science, Research and Sport of Slovak Republic, Slovak Center for Scientific and Technical Information, Big Bratislava, and Technology Center of Academy of Sciences of the Czech Republic. We will have 3 panels focused on 3 Horizon 2020 pillars and 1 plenary session, where the member of the European Commission responsible for research, innovation and science, Marie Geoghegan-Quinn, will officially open the Horizon 2020 in Slovakia. This conference is quite interactive, so you can find already all the presentation on our webpage. The links and the QR codes are in your kits, so don't hesitate to use your mobile phones, your notebooks, your tablets, and go through that presentations. You can also ask questions in every session via online application Slido. You can see it on the right side, on your right hand. Just open your mobile phones, smartphones, or notebooks or tablets, and click on slide.do/H2020, and you can ask the questions to our speakers, and you can also vote in the question of this conference, which is, by the way, where's the biggest potential of Slovak research in Horizon 2020. So do not hesitate to use these online applications. Of course, there will be some place for question directly from the public. There is also online web streaming via our webpage, www.fp7.sk, so your friends or colleagues can watch us as well, and they can also ask our guests some questions. So that's all about interactivity of our conference, and we can start the first panel, which is called Excellent Science. It is our big honor to welcome here 3 distinguished guests. First of them, Neville Rieu from European Commission. Professor Rieu is responsible for strategy and implementation of Horizon 2020. Then Dimitri Korpakis, also from European Commission. Dr. Korpakis is head of Smart Specialization for Growth Unit. Professor Jaromír Pastorek, who is president of Slovak Academy of Sciences. And so that was our speakers, and I think we can start with Mr. Rieu. So the floor is yours.
So it proves that I don't actually need the microphone. At the very least 2 years ago, or a little more than 2 years ago, when we saw the adoption of the proposal for Horizon 2020. Since then, there has been an absolutely enormous amount of detailed work as we've seen the negotiations continue, finally leading to the adoption of the legislation at the end of December, followed immediately the next day, on the 11th of December, by the publication of the first calls. Since it's my pleasure to come first in this program, I'll just say a couple of words about the overall, if you like, concept behind Horizon as it stands. It would be easy, I think, to look at it, perhaps, easy but I believe wrong to look at it as the next framework program, the latest framework program 8. It is, of course, that, but it's also, in fact, the product of some rather different thinking. It represents the product of this challenge-based approach about which we've spoken a great deal over recent years. It is the product of a very sincere emphasis to connect research and innovation with the jobs and growth agenda. It's the product of a hard look at what we can do to try and facilitate, support the development of research and innovation capacity in Europe. And I suppose going back to that issue about the challenge-based approach, it's also the product of thinking which says, how can we actually develop a research program which is very representative of the sorts of issues which everybody knows and understands? Energy, transport, agriculture, health. These are right at the very heart of Horizon 2020. Now, I think, as you all know, Horizon 2020 has three main pillars. It also has some other parts, and our speakers today are going to be covering the pillars and also these other parts. I'm going to give you a quick run through on the excellence pillar, which is the first of these. The other two, of course, being the industrial pillar and societal challenges pillar. There you have that schematic, which I think you might have seen in other presentations. So what is it all about, the excellent science pillar? Well, I suppose in simple terms, it's about saying that we need to develop, attract, and retain research talent. This is what the Marie Sklodowska research actions are all about. We need access to the best infrastructure, and we need to carry out research activities which are really going to support the development of new technologies and the research and the research infrastructures. And you see the distribution of the funding for these. The ERC takes up something just over 50% of the total of that. So let's just turn rather quickly. As I say, it'll be a spin through the key elements of these to the European Research Council. Well, what are the specific challenges? I suppose this sums it up reasonably well here. We're saying that I'm not always terribly comfortable, but I think many people use this. There is a race in research, science and technology, and it's clear that many of our competitor countries are investing extremely heavily in the development of science and the development of basic research activities, and we need to recognize that, and we need to provide a response to it. We need to also recognize that research is a key underpinning element in the development of new technologies and economic performance. And we need to recognize also that the dynamism and the creativity of the European research base is something that we can actually have a critical role in supporting through the European Research Council. I think you'll be familiar with some of these elements previously. This sums up well the different components. No synergy grants in that, because of course those were developed under the last stages of FP7, work programs in 2011, 2012. We're looking at the pilot on that to see how that worked. But the other elements I think you'll be familiar with. The starting grants. As you go across from left to right, you see an increase in terms of the age of the researchers perhaps, and also increase in terms of the available money. which will be supporting the activities. So 2.7 years for starting grants, up to the track record of 10 years for an advance grant, for which 3.5 million would be available, compared with 2 million, say, for a starting grant. Proof of concept, this is a little idea which has been developed also to recognise the clear link between basic or frontier research activity and innovation performance. That gap with small amounts of money just to facilitate the development of those sorts of connections. You see again the repetition of those different types of supporting scheme there. I think it's worth recognising that we are still only at the end of the first framework programme which has supported the ERC, and the transformative effect it's had on the research culture needs to be acknowledged. You see the way in which ERC grants are cited as a reason to attract new talent, to come to our university. You see them cited at a national level in terms of the excellence of the research system. Something like 4,000 or so ERC fellowships have been awarded since the start of FP7 to 500 institutions, 29 countries. And also that's really attracting the very best research expertise available. Something like 8 Nobel laureates have been supported through the ERC. So what we recognise here is there will be a doubling of funding to the European Research Council under Horizon 2020. Now let's look at the next of those activities, the future and emerging technologies. Of course, this emerged under FP7, but the key difference with Horizon 2020 is that it now extends not just to the ICT area where it began, but it extends to all areas of research and innovation covered by Horizon 2020. The point about it is, I suppose, is that it's really trying to provide those connections between teams which are working on radically different technological possibilities, where there's a high degree of uncertainty, where there is a high degree of risk. Interdisciplinarity is also a key element of that approach. And within the FET scheme, we have these 3 main different activities. We have the FET Open, which provides something like 40% of the total funding. And again, the idea behind that is that it will support early stage work, high risk research, visionary research, and research which will be underpinning radical new technology development. Then we have FET Proactive. This is in areas where we see the potential for emerging novel ideas which haven't yet been incorporated into industry roadmaps, or where there is the opportunity to build new interdisciplinary research communities. And in Horizon 2020, this will be focused in areas like quantum system science, exascale high-performance computing, quantum simulation, and cognition. And finally, the third of those key parts of the FET activity are the flagships. These are ambitious, large-scale things where we see the opportunity to build a bridge between what the European Union does, between what the framework program does, and member states' activities. So we're talking about 10-year, long-term funding initiatives, and we will continue with the activities focused on graphene and the Human Brain Project, which were identified at the end of FP7. So turning to the Marie Skłodowska-Curie actions, these have been part of the framework program for a very long time, and I don't think anybody would disagree with the fact they've had a huge and sustaining impact on the way in which research is carried out, the mobility and the learning of researchers in the European research area. So it's about new knowledge and skills, it's about career development, research talent, training, intersectoral collaboration, and it's also about, from our point of view, it's about co-funding activities with the member states so that we can align the different schemes which are out there to provide doctoral training and postdoctoral fellowships. So here you have the different activities supported by MSCA under Horizon 2020. First of all, there are the training networks for doctoral and early stage training, the industrial fellowships for postdoctoral researchers, the staff exchanges, certainly not to be overlooked, to provide cooperation and transfer of the staff actually engaged in managing and supporting these types of activities between at the member states level. And we also have the co-funding of programs. And a slightly smaller element, although not to be forgotten, are the policy support actions, for example, the European Researchers' Night. What's different about Horizon 2020? Well, first of all, it is a focusing, it is a streamlining, it's a simplification. So we see 8 actions reduced now to 4 main actions. We see this stronger focus on transferable skills, employability, intersectoral mobility. There is this strengthening of the structured doctoral training, which will allow joint doctorates or even multiple doctoral degrees. And we see a wider definition of industry being used, which will allow stronger engagement. And we also see some technical changes whereby the EU contribution is fully based on unit costs and country coefficients are only used for living allowances. Turning now to infrastructures, the support we give to infrastructures responds to both the Innovation Union and the Digital Agenda for Europe, 2 of the 7 flagships which are part of the Europe 2020 initiative, the Europe 2020 strategy. And summarizing what it's all about, it's about integration, integrating national and regional research infrastructures. It's about developing new world-class research infrastructures. It's about developing e-infrastructures in networking, computing, scientific data. There is an emphasis now on the innovation potential of research infrastructures, and we also will provide support for policy and international cooperation. So what are the new features? I mean, in a sense, this summarizes the points I've just made. It's about providing access, broader access and integration. It's about widening participation in these different activities, more support to infrastructures, emphasis on strategy and the international dimension. Now, I think through this quick one through, and I'm sorry it is rather brief, but nonetheless there are 4 main elements and I've been able to cover the key elements of each. I think you can see what is aimed at with this suite of activities underneath the excellence pillar, and there will be an opportunity both for questions later on, and I'm sure my colleagues will follow up with some more specific aspects of this profile. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And now I would like to ask you, Dimitri Korpakis, who are going to say us something about synergy between Horizon 2020 and structural funds, which is, I think, very important for countries like Slovakia.
So, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm delighted to be here also to this big day for Horizon 2020 in Slovakia. My presentation covers a more complex issue, which already, as you see, has a very, very long title. Every time that I try to explain this, I take some time even to read the title. But actually, it's important to think a little bit about the synergies between the structural funds and Horizon 2020, because this time is not just talking. There are a lot of concrete things that you can actually do, and you can discover a lot of new things in the regulations of the structural funds if you are familiar. And if you are not, I suggest that you spend some time to look a little bit more, especially to the annexes, which is the Common Strategic Framework for Cohesion Policy, because we have put specific references to Horizon 2020, which is actually even a reference by name. So the idea is to talk to you about the synergies with cohesion policy, with the new cohesion policy under the Europe 2020 strategy. but also on a particular new action under Horizon 2020, which is called Spreading Excellence and Widening Participation. And you will see that this is intrinsically linked together because the one helps the other. Let me just take a few moments just to set the scene, because we are actually talking about investments, and you might have noticed in the title that the structural funds are no longer called only structural funds. We are not just telling the member states that we are supporting them, but we are stressing the fact that we have an investment to make. And this is now the reason that the title of the funds has changed, and it's called European Structural and Investment Funds. These are investments for the future as much as you are investing on R&D. But if you take a closer look to the European regions, and these are the latest statistics from Eurostat, you will see that on a total of 266 regions at NUTS 2 level, only 35 of them had in 2009 reached the level that we have set as a target for the Union. That means 3% of their GDP investing in R&D. And if you take a closer look even to these 35 regions, you will see that they have a huge, they signify a huge concentration, because taken together they represent something like 45% of the whole European R&D expenditure in R&D. And even more, 10 of them are spending almost 10 of the whole European effort, and they are all located in the north. So you can, if you look at a map of Europe, you could see that there is a huge concentration, with a big concentration on the northern part of Europe and the center, and then a long tail, a long shadow in the south of Europe and in the eastern part of it. I say this because we are living in a crisis, and this crisis is continuing. I don't need to remind you that we are in big trouble in terms of public finances. There are, of course, some recovery signs that we have to be extremely careful, but they are there. Nevertheless, if you take a snapshot of what R&D investment can do to your economy, you could see interesting things, because if you plot the average R&D investment, the 4 years before the crisis happened, between 2004 and 2009, and then GDP growth in 2010, you will notice that you take a snapshot, the countries that have been investing better in R&D, they were far better to exit the crisis faster than others. This doesn't mean, of course, that if you invest in R&D, you will solve immediately your finance problems. But it will also tell you that your capability to turn your economy into a more innovative one is increasing. And this is something that you have to keep in mind for the future. The situation is reflected in the regional innovation scoreboard. You can, if you take now a closer look to the innovation indicators, as we measure it in the Union, you will see that the picture is no different, and the dark blue, which is very, very scarce in this map, it's again in the middle of Europe and in the Nordic part, and the rest, you see this orange and yellow, which is the moderate and modest innovators, again reflects the same picture. So with some particular exceptions, which are areas around the capitals of Europe. Our objective with the European effort in R&D, with Horizon 2020, and of course with the Innovation Union flagship initiative, which is one of the 7 initiatives of the Europe 2020 strategy, is to turn the Union into a real innovation union. And we have extended this effort not only on R&D policy, but also to other policies. For example, the questions of internal market, how we go about public procurement, how we manage intellectual property rights in the Union. You know that we have reached, after long years of negotiation in the Council and the Parliament, an agreement of the European unitary patent, and yet we're not there in terms of coverage. So we have 34 commitments that we follow systematically, and we publish even every year a State of the Innovation Union report, and you can monitor this in line. So we are doing more or less well, but there are a lot of things that we need still to accomplish until a final goal. I was talking to one of my colleagues just before this meeting, and he was telling me this word on synergies. Everybody is repeating this, but nobody understands what it is. And it's actually very easy to repeat it, but more difficult to understand what it is. Synergy is a Greek word that I can tell you I understand better because I'm Greek, and means simply that you can achieve a far better result at the end, even if you work on parallel processes which are seemingly different, but nevertheless point to the same objectives. So the more you fine-tune these efforts, the better synergies you might end up with. And if you take a look to the two diverse universe of the framework program, Horizon 2020, and the structural funds, the new cohesion policy, you can immediately identify that we are living in two completely different universes. On the one hand, on the left side of this table, you have a very, very competitive process. Only the best partners can go through. The rest, as you know, they get a letter and they say, maybe you try better next time. On the right side of this table, the Commission works in partnership with the Member States. And we are supporting you very much in terms of your money, how you're going to do your programs. We even have reserved budgets for each country, so everybody knows exactly how much money they will get. The difficulty, of course, is to get this money, you have to present programs. And these programs have to be more and more intelligent. And this is also now one of the buzzwords that we have introduced, which is smart specialization, which I come back in a moment. But in the bottom of this table, you will see that we are actually pointing to the same objective because we both aim to a more competitive Europe. And we need to have more competitive regions and more competitive Europe on the one hand, with advancing excellence in science and technology and innovation, and on the other hand, a systematic effort to build capacity and skills for innovation, which are both complementary and mutually reinforcing. We have also introduced particular requirements for achieving these synergies, and two of our, I would say, secret weapons is the smart specialization, ex-ante conditionality, and then is the thematic concentration. The ex-ante conditionalities were introduced in the new cohesion policy to safeguard the performance framework we have introduced that, as you know, is going to be monitored much better than previously. And there are 18 conditionalities. One of the first is the smart specialization. If you put all this in one table just to make it a little bit simpler, and to have a better view, on the one hand, Horizon will have, as you know, it is a top-down program where the Commission, together with the Member States, issues work programs and calls for proposals which are competitive, and they evolve across excellence, industrial leadership, and societal challenges. But at the same time, the research community will be also implementing cohesion policy where this is relevant, and I can tell you now cohesion policy is relevant for everybody. Everybody profits from cohesion policy, even, I would say, the richer member states, albeit with different intervention rates. And we have introduced, the first thing is this thematic concentration, which obliges all regions to allocate specific amounts of money to just 4 thematic objectives out of the 11 that are now introduced in the structural funds. And these 4 objectives is support to research and innovation, information and communication technology, the SME competitiveness, and the low carbon economy. And for transition and rich regions, they have to spend 80% of their total ERDF allocation for that, and even poor regions and poorer countries have to allocate 50%, which is a high percentage of the money that previously were allocated more, I would say, to other types of infrastructure that have not to do so much with knowledge. On top of that, you have to comply with the smart specialization conditionality, which is not only to have a smart specialization strategy, which, in a parenthesis, you were among the first in the Union to produce. and I had the opportunity to be quite acquainted with it, and I must say it's one of the most interesting that we have seen so far. You have also to have other conditions that you have to comply, and this is where we are waiting to see in the operational programs. First of all, you have to stimulate private R&D investment with your policies, and this can happen with the operational programs. You have to have a monitoring and review system right from the start. You have also to have a more or less stable budgetary framework for investing in R&D, and if you have any ESFRI research infrastructures, you have to explain to the Commission how this will happen. So all this is part of the conditionality and will be checked before we give you the green light to advance in the partnership agreements and operational programs. Funding synergies between the two schemes is also possible because we have introduced specific articles in the two regulations which make it possible for a given operation to have also money coming from the other funding scheme. The only, I would say, condition that you have to pay attention is that you cannot introduce the same cost item twice, once in Horizon 2020 and another time in the structural funds, because this is double funding and this is prohibited by the financial regulation of the Union. If you do an intelligent, I would say, financial engineering and you plan your activities well, you can have in the same operation several grant agreements, and you can combine the funds to have an increased impact on this. We are preparing a concise guide on this with other DGs, especially DG Regio, and you will have this guide probably before the end of this month. We have been working hard and we have taken some delay. Horizon 2020, I said explicitly, marks a departure in terms of support to regional innovation. There are no regional innovation schemes in Horizon anymore, but we have a lot of novelties, such as new financial engineering instruments. We have the by now famous new SME instrument, which is much more linked with the SBIR program in the United States, and we have the fast track to innovation pilot that may have a strong and lasting effect at regional level. And already Neville talked to you about this. I'm not going to insist on that. I would like to stress the fact that in Horizon 2020 we have a renewed interest in public-private partnerships and also in public partnerships that can be also very much enhanced through the structural funds, and you will have a lot of explanations in this guide. Don't forget also that inside the structural funds you can also enhance the so-called European innovation partnerships, which are not funding instruments, but you have to consider them as accelerators for innovation, and you know that we have 6 of them, and they will do coordination work largely, but they have also to be taken into account when you design the operational programs in the structural funds. As I said, there is a renewed activity on SMEs, and I stress this because this can also have important synergies with the structural funds because it concerns small and medium-sized enterprises. As you know, the new SME instrument will have a strong novelty in the sense that it will be much simpler. It will be also accompanied with substantial coaching by the Commission to all 3 phases, and we will even have a 3rd phase on commercialization where the Commission will not fund particularly the proposal, but it will give you, I would say, intellectual input with business coaching. The fast track to innovation is something that will also have important synergies with the action of the structural funds. It's a very, very new scheme, simplified, cuts across all areas, will favor, I would say, small players, and it will be only implemented after 2015. But keep an eye on it because it will become probably important. I will also now try to say a word on the new widening actions of the framework program, which present a particular interest for countries like Slovakia, because we have pointed these actions to countries that are specifically low performing in the framework program, and in general we want to raise the excellence in what the Council and the Parliament called low performing countries in research and innovation. There was a huge debate in the Council, and the Parliament, and now you have a new part which is actually out of the three pillars. It's an independent part, Part 3A, which its specific title, Spreading Excellence and Widening Participation. We have found out that there are a lot of factors that impede the member states that in terms of performance, and some of most generic is their own national investment in research and innovation, something that you can also correct with the appropriate operations under the structural funds. And this is why I have put this here. So I have a number of actions that we are now have already published calls. We have actions on teaming, which is centers of excellence, twinning, exchanges between institutions with institutional networking, the RHS, for which there is already a pilot already ongoing in FP7, and we will have actions like the policy support facility, in which the Commission will give specific support with technical assistance to the member states that so wish. And also we will turn COST, which is an intergovernmental framework for cooperation in science and technology, even more on widening actions. Teaming is, as you know, about the creation of new centers of excellence or refurbishing of existing centers of excellence. And what is important here is that proposals have, in a compulsory way, to fit with the smart specialization strategy of the country or the region that they are introduced. And we expect also huge commitments from the member states from the structural funds, because Horizon will not cover any infrastructure costs. It will cover only, I would say, the soft part. The buildings and the equipment have to come either from national sources or from a combination of national sources and the structural funds. And we expect also these centers to be much more connected with the local and regional economy later on. Twinning is a much simpler form of research potential, if you have been familiar with the concept. We are actually encouraging people to have also links with smart specialization, although it will not be compulsory in this case. And we are going to open the first call only in July 2015. So we've given priority to ERA chairs and to teaming. ERA chairs is a novel concept in which we expect a team with an excellent researcher on top to come to an institution and produce a lot of reforms. Of course, with the full agreement of the institution that will receive the ERA chair. And we also opened a call, which is open on the 11th of December. This is a more novel initiative. It will also point to the fact that these institutions that will receive the ERA chair will have to be more open to the European research area values as open recruitment, gender equality, for example, and so forth. As I said, we are going to provide, through the policy support facility, expertise to the member states that so wish. We have started a little bit a pilot with sending 15 teams in the new member states and also to Greece, Spain, and Portugal to help the authorities build the smart specialization strategy. And this, again, I repeat, will be on a voluntary basis. We are not going to send the experts on our own initiative. It will be only if you will want it. And COST, which is an intergovernmental framework, it encompasses more than 40 countries, even much more than the members of the European Union. It has already played a huge role in what we call widening actions, because it's a more widening activity, but now it will have also a specific activity on the widening actions. And we have also found that if we improve the quality and the performance of the national contact points, then there are already immediate effects in terms of performance. So all this, you can find it in our calls. I will not bother you with details. Keep in mind that we start, I would say, with lower amounts, but the total budget is 800 million. The interesting thing about teaming, you have to think about the process in which, in the first place, we are going to give something like 30 grants to selected proposals. to introduce, to work towards the business plan. And then we will select between these business plans, very few, and I also want to stress the word very few, something between 5 and 7, in which we are going then to give substantial money to start these operations for a period that can span between 5 to 7 years. And so we are talking about 10 to 15 million euro per project. And this will be actually a substantial effort to build critical mass in the member states. As I said, twinning is something lighter, and it will mainly go on networking scientists that are not so much exposed to international networking. A good example for what we achieved with research potential, you have these two good examples, one from Estonia, where one Estonian center in Tartu, the Estonian Genome Center, has built very successful networking with the Netherlands, Finland, and Germany, and another one is the Pasteur Institute of French Guiana in one of the outermost regions of the Union, where it has strengthened its excellence by building links with other centers in other member states, and these are good examples of twinning. A lot of discussion has gone on with the member states on how we have gone with the criteria for eligibility for these widening actions, because, as you know, they are reserved as host countries only to a few member states, and the Council text was a little bit unclear, to say the least. So we spent a lot of time to discuss with the member states in the context of the shadow program committees. We have taken on board a lot of parameters dealing with innovation, excellence, and we have come up with a composite indicator which is actually used already in the Innovation Union Competitiveness Report in 2013, and which takes on board the publications, the world-class universities in a country, patent applications, and also the value of the ERC grants in a country divided by public R&D performed by the higher education and government sectors. It's a composite indicator that is also tries to approach, I would say, the gist of this low performance, and to be absolutely sure about what we are doing. We capped it to 70% of the union average, and if you do that, you come up with the all new member states, so EU 13, plus Portugal and also Luxembourg, which was a surprise to many people. But if you take a closer look, Luxembourg might be a rich country. Nevertheless, in terms of scientific excellence, it still has a lot to do, and this is why it is there. I will finish with this slide just to stress that we are now in a completely new process where a significant effort for knowledge transfer is there. Keep in mind, it's not a cohesion criteria that we have used in the framework program, because we moved away from cohesion, but we are in a performance logic. And we have focused much on institution building and also on smart specialization. The actions of the structural funds can be coupled to all these widening actions and even more. And I can tell you that if you take a look again to the new articles of the structural funds regulations, especially in what concerns synergy, which is not just an empty word but is an obligation for the Commission to build it now, you can find a lot of actions that can help you to prepare people for entering the framework program. You can actually do things during a project in the framework program, and you can do a lot with the structural funds after a project has finished to take this on board. There are, of course, big expectations and big risks, but also huge gains. You can find also a lot on the respective pages for cohesion policy and for Horizon 2020, and I will be happy to respond to your questions later on. Thank you very much for your attention.
Good morning, everybody. I would like to focus on excellent science in relation to framework programs and compare how it was in the past in 5th, 6th, 7th FP and what we can expect from Horizon 2020. Excellent science is one of the 4 priorities in smart specialization strategy, and we expect that excellent science will be supported not only from the structural funds, but also from the domestic budget, from Slovak government, and to be more, and we expect to be more successful in excellent science and Horizon 2020, because clearly I think that Horizon 2020 is about the excellent science. And what is the status of the excellent science in Slovakia? In the beginning, I will focus on Slovak Academy of Sciences, which is old 60 years old organization, and there is more than 1,800 scientists. And recently, the Slovak Academy of Sciences identified the priorities in science and research, and top priorities are material science and nanotechnology, which is also the part of the smart specialization strategy. The second one is biomedicine and biotechnology. Of course, there are other priorities like information and communication technology, industrial technology, transportation, mechanical and electrical engineering, and so on and so on, and ending with the societal challenges and social sciences simply and humanities. The structure of the priority, the first one, the materials and nanotechnology, are nanomaterials, materials for electrical engineering, light construction materials, and progressive steel materials for extreme condition. In biomedicine, tumor disease, all these cardiovascular, infection disease, metabolic disorders, and regenerative medicine, which is the parts also of the new scientific parts which are recently built, and we expect that we will finish in next year. Of course, what is these are the priorities, but what is the status? What is the output of scientists from the Slovak Academy of Sciences? The number of the scientific papers, which is the one of the criteria which was also mentioned here in previous talk, is I can say the constant or sometimes slightly increasing or balancing around 1,300-400. The reason is that we didn't expect, and we do not have the increasing the financing, I mean the budget of the Slovak Academy of Sciences, and also the number of the scientists for the last 10 years is stable. It's not increasing. I must say it's not decreasing, but it's stable. What is good, that the quality of the research is improving, because the number of citations per constant, the number of publication is increasing, which is a good fact, one of the few, you can say. What is the division of the top institution in Slovakia? The scientific output is the papers, the Slovak Academy of Sciences and Comenius University are leading institution. Of course, we should mention also University of Pavel Josef Šafárik, Slovak Technical University, and others. What is the output of, I mean, the quality of the paper is that, again, the Slovak Academy of Sciences is doing roughly 43% of total citation in the country, and Comenius University is 38%. If we are talking about the excellent science, I would like to focus on, for example, on Comenius University, because this is the for me is a really good target to support the excellent science at the Comenius University, because you can see that from 26% of total publication, they are doing 38% of citation, which means the quality of the research or excellent research is really good at the Comenius, and therefore we need to support these key institutions to improve the quality or excellent science in Slovakia. What is the problem? Problems are with the structure of different sources for financing of simply research, R&D. And you can see that our domestic sources like Vega, which is not real, but we are saying it's a grant agency, Slovak Academy of Sciences and universities are putting the money for the common agency, and it's very low. I will mention later, but it's something like in Slovak Academy of Sciences, it's something like €6,000 per year per project. We are really sad that one real agency, APVV, is taking only a small part in financing, and which is also really sad that from 2009 up to now, the budget is going down. Then you can see how it is in Slovakia, Slovak Academy of Sciences. The structural funds are a major part of financing, and there are some 6 and 7 FP, which is the red one, bilateral projects, multilateral scientific programs, and other international projects. What is the participation of Slovak Academy of Sciences on fixed 6 and 7 FP? And you can see that it's roughly constant, the number of the projects, and the success rate is from 6 FP is something like 30%. Then from this slide, my question is, can we be optimistic in Horizon 2020? Yesterday we had a seminar and discussion with Mr. Shander, and he was quite optimistic as he said that the Slovakia has potential improve the number of the projects or simply be more successful in Horizon 2020. But the question is, what need do we do to be more successful? Because from this side the prediction is, and I can be optimistic, if it will be the same success rate like in 7 FP, that's perfect. You can see the number of the project. You can see that Slovak Academy of Sciences is the quite successful institution to get 7 FP. Then the Technical University in Košice, Comenius University, the SME Ardaco, and other universities. And simply here is the slide or cartoon which is project per million inhabitants and financial contribution, and you can see that Slovakia is on the bottom of this scale. And why Slovakia participation in 7 FP was so bad? Because there are small number of the project, we need to write more, and we need to be more active. And another is that the financial contribution from the domestic sources are really on the low level. And this correlate that success rate in 7 FP with the gross domestic expenditure, and you can see that again our country is on the bottom of this line. And you can see the country like UK, France, and Germany, they are investing, or Finland, more to science and they are more successful. Here is the comparison with the average of EU 28 and other countries like neighboring countries like Czech Republic, Hungary, and also the Romania, which is roughly on the same level like Slovakia. We believe that the plan of country that in 2020 there will be 1.2% of GDP which will go to the R&D, because now we are on the 22nd place among the EU countries, which is not very good. As I mentioned, the problem is that there is a missing of real domestic funding for putting the more money to the competitive sources, and we expect that recent Minister of Education will rapidly increase the number of budget for APVV, which for me is really crucial, because still there is a big disbalance between the structural funds, which are mostly about the infrastructure, and APVV, which must support the good science. And also we expect that it will help the establishment of technological agency, which will be more focused on the applied research and mostly for the innovation, and APVV will be for the good excellent science and good applied research. What it was mentioned here, what is the distribution of the money for ERC? There is more than 13 billion euro. The question is how we will be successful. Up to now we have only one project. The problem is, or two, but the second is somewhere in the Belgium and moving into Austria. The problem is we are not writing the project for the European Research Council, and there are something in the last call there were less than 10 projects for the whole country. Then we can't expect that we will be some successful. There are some another future emerging technology. Again, we need to create something which will support the teams which are doing, because up to now, how many teams are working on graphene? How many teams are involved in human brain project? That these calls are behind or out of our scope. The national support for excellent science to promote the government's of Slovak R&D system towards the Horizon 2020. We need to continue in identification of excellent Slovak scientists and scientific teams, and in providing support for these good research teams. Set up of Slovak Excellence Science Program, which will be in frame of APVV or structural funds, and implement measures to promote Slovak application for ERC grants, which is really, as I said, a weak point. I will skip maybe this one, that we are trying at Slovak Academy of Sciences to identify and support the good teams. One of the really important thing is that we've got project SASPRO, which is from the co-fund. The only problem is that we need to find 60% of budget, and recently with budget for the Slovak Academy of Sciences we are going slightly down. Of course, the reason is because of crisis. We can believe or not. Yeah, that's another excellent science program. We need to introduce the good schemes like Impulse, like this in Czech Republic or Hungary, And we need to identify the really excellent teams from the university, Slovak Academy of Sciences, other institutions which belongs to the, let's say, to the Ministry of Agriculture or Economy, and support these which are really good is the number one condition. Thank you very much for attention.
Thank you very much, President. And now, the last speaker of the first panel, Mr. Marek, floor is yours.
Okay, I will start with some very emotive speech. Thank you very much for the opportunity to be here. Because, you know, always I am very happy to be in Slovakia, because I like Slovakia, I like the Slovak people, and for the last 2 years I am the member of the academic body of Technical University of Zvolen. It means that particularly I am yours. For today I was asked to tell you some experiences which we have with the utilization of structural funds. It means with the construction of special research body which is based on the structural funds. It means that I will try to not only introduce this program, but I will try to tell you some my personal experiences. I will introduce you the CzechGlobe, the institution which is oriented on the deep investigation of global change impact. I must say that sometimes it's necessary to stress that Czech political representation was clever. I think that it's maybe one time per history of our republic. And this clever idea was when the structural funds are coming into the Czech Republic, part of these funds was really devoted to the construction of the Center of Excellence. It means that not only the highways, not only the golf places, not only the hotels, not only the cycling roads, but science. And at present time, 6 big centers of excellence are constructed. And you know, still I think that it's crazy that one of the 6 centers of excellence is devoted to the ecological environmental research, especially in the Czech Republic, where maybe that you know that we have one former president who was always telling that climate change is something environmentalistic dreams. It means that the Czech society in principle really is not ready for this. It means that sometimes what happens, and we are receiving this CzechGlobe as the infrastructure devoted to the problem of global change impact. It means that it's infrastructure, what is new, what was a little bit complicated, especially distributed infrastructure, and at present time the total financial amount is 30 million euro for the construction of this infrastructure. What is the aim of this infrastructure? Maybe that is the motto: change is a challenge. I think it's the same of what I saw in the presentation of colleague from Brussels, that really the problem of global change, carbon low economy, is really the challenge. And we are happy that we are trying to contribute to this big body. It means that we are trying to investigating the changing environment and the changing world. You know, this changing world, it's maybe a little bit which is more acceptable for the politics to the Czech Republic instead to global change. Now we are using the term changing world. It's more modern to really be not okay. Environment, we think there's a system which is composed from natural, artificial, and social components. and of course the changing world is the changing of development of planet Earth. I think that what was really important that we were successful in this competition for these European funds was that really we can say that the Czech Globe is a child of a European research program on this objective. We started in 1992 with the first European program. It was this program Go to East, and we received the first project devoted to the investigation of effect of elevated CO2 on the plants. And it means that a lot of programs were we are utilizing, and really the Czech Globe is the child of this program. It means it was very, very important, because I think that for this international laboratory panel, it was very important. So yeah, this group from the Brno have the experiences with the European program. And I must say that it was really advantage for us, because we know something about the procedure, about the style of these European programs. You know, it's sometimes very special language, very special styles, very special rules. It means that I think that it was really very important idea. And second, what was very important, that we were still trying to interconnect two programs. It means structural funds and ESFRI programs. It means that the programs on the construction of research infrastructure was a little bit combined with our efforts to establish this national, international center of excellence. At present time, the Czech Globe is a part of different ESFRI activities. Czech Globe is a core institution of the very successful European infrastructure named ICOS, International Carbon Observation System. It is a European infrastructure for the observing of the fate of greenhouse gases, carbon budget, carbon cycles, etc. The second important European infrastructure is ANAE, is infrastructure which is devoted to experimentation and analysis of ecosystem using the special tools. And last one is the infrastructure which is devoted to the application of aircraft for the remote sensing investigation of European continent. When we started to prepare, it was announcement the structural funds are coming. I will start with my colleague with preparatory phase. It means that we were sitting and thinking. The first idea of my things was, I will go back to sweet times of me when I was young boy without any ideas about the photosynthesis, any ideas about the European structural funds. And because it was the late evening and some bottles of wine, I was thinking about the special things which adult man. And suddenly Czech Globe was here. It means that I started to think about this unique infrastructure which will interconnect all our experiences in the area of global change impact. The second, when the project was ready, started very hard phase. It was the negotiation phase. It means that in the Prague, in the Ministry of Science, was some guides from Austria, from Germany, discussing with us. It means that I was sitting, in my house was as some Taj Mahal, some dreams, and I was negotiating very special things. It was a very complicated phase to make the negotiation with the officers, but successful. A lot of advices was really useful, but I was saying it was really incredible. It was very, very complicated phase. When we received the project, we started this construction phase. It means that because we have the close to Slovakia, but and we're constructing our infrastructure. And now I am happy man because all is ready and we are starting really this late operational phase, and you know this very, very famous Czech it means that now we are starting this operational phase. What it means that Czech-Globe is Czech-Globe is really special distributed infrastructure with a lot of different things, because we are trying to cover all important aspects of global change impact. It means that at the present time, we are still constructing new places. We are covering the Czech Republic. I hope that in next decades, it will be Czech Republic renamed to the Michal Marek Kingdom. Some very special and nice tools were constructed using these structural funds. For example, now when you will go on the highway to Prague, you can see this nice tower, Markovka. Maybe that you remember nice Czech movie, Marečku, polejte mi pero. This tower is really close to the village Kojičice. Maybe that you remember this from this movie. This tower is utilized for the investigation of movement of greenhouse gases across in this reference layer. This tower is a member of the European network because it's still extremely important. 8 towers are now operating over the European continent to measure the movement and concentration of greenhouse gases. Second one, very important point of our infrastructure was construction of special training center when we are applying to methods of agroforestry to utilize the plants not only for the production of biomass, but to be as the active storage of carbon from atmosphere. Very nice and very special and unique is the farm of 24 advanced open-top chambers, which make possible for us to really make the manipulation under the condition of the real ecosystem. It's very unique automatized system of this chamber. Analytical lab, and I think that since this time a lot of people in the Czech scientific community hated me because we have the aircraft. It was unique that from this program we have the aircraft which is utilized, which is used for remote sensing and process imaging, because using these techniques we are able to really investigate the carbon sinks in the landscape, carbon sinks in the different ecosystem, to be able to calculate the ability, the potential of the landscape to be sink for carbon. Very important, and which is really unique, we have the network of different stations where we are measuring the uptake of carbon dioxide from the atmosphere in the different ecosystem. We are covering the mosaic of the Czech Republic ecosystem, mountains, forest, mountains, grasslands, broadleaf forest, highway, Czech highland, spruce forest, the agroforestry system, the wetlands close to city of Třeboň, if you know, in South Bohemia. It means that we are really trying, it's floodplain forest close to Austrian border, to really cover the whole mosaic of the Czech territory. And because we are trying to really improve new method, the metabolomics, omics are directly used for the investigation of ecosystem processes. What is a little bit unique and other side very complicated is that still the Czech-Globe is running the spin-off company. You know, it's unique from the point of view of the application as SME, but very often we have a lot of problem, especially with the Czech authorities, because they are still looking, oh God, are the public money utilized in the private activities. It's very nice, very promising, but still, I must stress that the legislative is not ready for this. We have a lot of problem with this application of this small company, which is directly part of our institute and producing some products which are successful on the market. What about our experiences? What is pleasures? What is the perfect? The first one is that really we are receiving big amount of money. It means that Michal Marek is really extremely happy man. I am close to 60. I am now constructing the institution according to my dreams, and I have the money. It's unique. The second is that really I must say that this system have the relatively flexible style of inter-annual budget. It means that it's possible to move the money from one to other years according to needs, according to current situation. And it's very nice possibility to exchange money between the individual chapters. You know what I mean. What are the problems, the hardships? I think that extremely complicated step is the tender procedures, because all things must be obtained according to transparent tenders. It's source of extremely big difficulties. Because really, for example, we are looking for some special instruments. We know that this instrument is produced only by one company, but still we must to play this theater with the public tenders. Sometimes it's problems that the market on the market is not only okay companies. It means that it was the last year when we was looking for the special spectrometers which are using on our aircraft. And one special company from the border of the Czech Germany was applying. It was absolutely clear that it's a crime. And the tender was broken, and now we are still waiting for the final decision of these special Czech authorities who is making decision about this transparency of the tender. The second problem is that it's still a very big competition, contradiction between the Brussels and Prague rules. And very often the rules from the Prague are changed. It means that I am on the Monday morning in the ministry hearing new instructions, then I am going by car to Brno, and when I am arriving to Brno, these rules are not valid. It means that very often it's changed, it's on the road. The problem is very often the incompatibility between the Czech and Brussels law systems, and of course the bureaucracy. But on the other side, when I can receive the money, I must accept it. But it's very hard task. Very important for the future sustainability is this some practices which are necessary. The first one is the agreement with the different type of institutions, universities, states agencies, private bodies, etc., domestic and abroad. I am very happy that because the objective of our investigation, it means that we are investigating atmosphere, ecosystem, social economical system. We have a lot of opportunities to creating the networking. Very important aspect. The second important aspect is the direct incorporation, the foraging scientists and PhD students, which are regular member of our institution. It's very important, and we are happy that at present time maybe 30% of professors or assistant professors in the Czech globe are the people from the different countries of Europe, and at present time at the Czech globe is 60 PhD students and 26 are the students from the abroad. It means that our idea to be the international open accessible institution seems to be that we will be able to do it. At present time, you can see how the situation of the Czech law from the point of view of the people, of the staff, and I can say that, of course, for this action of the Czech law, they are very important to have the sources of the money input. What I can stress that it's necessary to combine the different programs. For example, Czech Globe is the project of structural funds. The second step was that the Academy of Scientists of the Czech Republic was accepted the Czech Globe as the new institution. It means that we are receiving the basic money from the Academy of Scientists. The third one is that the Czech Globe is the member of this European infrastructure bodies. It's very important. Third one, I am very happy that at the Czech Republic the national roadmap of infrastructure existing. It means that the Czech Globe is as a part of the Czech national roadmap of infrastructure. You know, I remember that maybe 10 years ago, I, as a director of institution, I was very happy that 70% of the income was from the contracts and only 30% was from the institution. I was a really stupid man. Now I think that it must be real vice versa, because to be able to maintain, to be able to really make the sustainability of the institution is necessary to receive some basic income. It means that maybe 60-70% is income and 30-40% is contracts. It means that now under this scheme, Czech Globe exists and we are receiving the financial source for this income from these different sources. The current situation of the Czech Globe is that I am in this mode. No, I think that I am in this mode. Thank you very much for your attention, and please go apply for this project because it's advantage. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So we listen to the very happy, very rich guy and the man which was on an aeroplane. So you are one of the dream men for most of the women. So now it's time for your questions and answers. I will take 2 questions for our Slido, and then I give you the floor for the audience. So we can start with the first question. It is mainly for Mr. President of Slovak Academy of Sciences, but maybe for all of our speakers. So if we use the potential of Slovak Academy of Sciences and universities, will we not improve our results in framework programs? Could we not improve if we eliminated the fragmentation of Slovak research?
The first one, if you use the potential of Slovak Academy of Sciences and universities, what does it mean, fuse? Who asked the question? What does it mean, fuse? Can we replace the word fuse with the cooperation, common projects? Why do we need to destroy some institution and create a new one? Do you think that there will be some benefit? That's, well, it's not a really very clever question. The second, why do you comparing academy to universities? Teachers do not only do research, but primarily teach. Yeah, I know, but this is, and what about the other universities? They are also teaching. How many, do you know how many scientists from the Slovak Academy of Sciences are teaching at the universities? Why do we need to say, okay, this is for the science and this is for the teaching? Good universities that they will combine this. This is something artificial. Can you say that you are doing science 4 hours and you are teaching 4 hours? Science is not about that. We are doing science from 8 to 12. They are not scientists. Then again, this question was not really clever.
Okay, so thank you. Would someone else add something? Okay, no. So the second question, what is the most important thing to be successful in Horizon 2020? Maybe in 1 or 2 words.
I would say, like, you know, any exam or any test, read the question, read the work program, read it clearly. All the clues are there in terms of the expected impact, in terms of the scope of the research. It should give you a very clear idea of what is expected. The work program this time round, 2014-2015, has been designed to be clearer, simpler, and really to attract a broader range of potential applicants than perhaps we saw previously. In other words, you don't look straight to the bit which you think is just your bit. You know, we go there because that's in ICT, whatever. Look across the work program, use the tools which are available through the participant portal to search for parts which are relevant to you. Use simple language because the search tool has been designed to actually operate with simple queries, not using technical terms.
Yeah, I don't think there is any particular recipe, but the other thing is that you have, first of all, to think what you are actually good at and what are your particular interests. Then try to identify what could be the best area in the framework program that could be more suitable. Don't go the other way around, because you are not going to serve the framework program. You have to do your own research. So it is only if you are actually investing on your own particular drive and interest that you can be successful. And then, of course, you have to be open to the world, be more open to networking, try your connections in Europe, elsewhere. We are cooperating with almost the whole world. And I think the more open you are, the more chances you have to be successful in the framework program.
I think simple answer. You must try find some good relation. The first one is that really is necessary to study very deeply this all proposal, all calls. Because they have some special language, some special things which is necessary to discover. The second is that you must change in the daily management of the institution or the department in the university. For example, to establishing new department of project management, to be in very strong contact with the national bodies which are responsible for the transfer of European programs. For example, the Czech Republic is the Technological Center of Academy. To be in the contact with we have the Czech office in the Brussels, CELO, to be in contact, to really visiting this. I know, very often I spend the hours with this, sometimes very strange instruction, but it's necessary to repeat it, and suddenly you are starting to understand, it's necessary to know. And very important is the networking, to find the good partner in Europe. It's extremely important. I have the very good experiences with the people from Italy. Maybe that mafia style is very good for this, but still Mafian colleagues are extremely good for the preparation of project and to be successful.
I would like to stress also that we in Slovakia have the new structure of support the Slovak participation in Horizon 2020. So we have new national contact points on Center for Scientific and Technological Information. As I mentioned, we had also the new liaison office in Brussels. So I would like to ask you, do not hesitate to contact your national contact point, or do not hesitate to contact us in Brussels. We can there, and also we can help you with your proposals, and we can manage the meetings with some people in Brussels. So now the questions from the audience, please. Do you have microphones?
Yeah, thank you very much. My name is Tatiana Kluvankova. I am from Slovak Academy of Sciences. I apologize for a little bit critical view. I think we are just turning around at what will increase the participation of Slovakia in framework programs on Horizon. That's quite simple. with the local language, local scientists, no communication, no, interexchange is not possible to increase the participation. With the PhD education in Slovak as well, it's not really possible. And it's not a question of money. I apologize. It's a question of opening network. It's not any conflict between universities and academia. I think there are researchers in excellence, researchers on both sides. And with a really exhausting administration on researchers, it's impossible. So these are kind of very key areas, I think already mentioned by Professor Marek, that we are facing and we are really, disturbed by in our work. I'm leading a small group. We have already been involved in 7 EU framework programs. And this is always the question of our network and our personal or professional contacts we have in European research area. And I think that's the only way how this can be improved, that the young scholars will increase their capacity to participate on international programs, to publish with colleagues abroad, and to be able to understand and to cooperate with them. So.
Thank you. Would someone add something? Okay, so next one from the audience. There are no questions. So, there is one question.
Hello, everybody. My name is Michal Sladek. I'm a PhD student. And I would like to ask the president of the Slovak Academy of Sciences, one thing that really struck me this morning was that the priorities of the institution and the social sciences and humanities were like the bottom, and also he stressed like this is the bottom thing. I would like to ask why we are so much involved in the technologies and so little in the social sciences and human sciences. Thank you very much.
I have mentioned that there are two top priorities and other priorities. And it doesn't mean that the social sciences or the bottom is, there was not valuation of the priorities. I think it's not really the top one as a two, the material sciences and life sciences. And I think that there are many possibilities to go even in other priorities, because the social challenge is quite wide. And second one is that this fit with smart specialization strategy. And third reason is that if you will check output of scientific results from the academy, they are the most significant, from these communities which are on the top, like material sciences and other. That was the reason.
Thank you.
Can I just add a few things? As you know, in the new framework program, we have tried to embed more social sciences in all other areas of the framework program. So it is also an open invitation that you have to think about involving more social scientists and humanities in almost all areas of the framework program. And because smart specialization was mentioned, we should not lose from sight that smart specialization is not only about technology. It's also about social innovation. So you have to think about a consistent set of measures that will also involve social scientists, so that not only these actions are intelligent, but they also respond also, I would say, to socioeconomic needs. And when you involve social scientists, you have much more chances that these issues are taken on board. So don't think about smart specialization equals high technology. It's not the case.
Thank you. Do we have some other questions? Okay, maybe I can ask one question from the online, from the Slido. It's a very concrete question, but I don't know if you know the answer. What calls are aimed at the patent applications? It's a very concrete question. What calls are aimed at the patents application?
Well, it must be in every call, no?
I don't think I understand the question, because in a sense there is the opportunity for all research and innovation activities to consider patenting as part of the exploitation process. We make it a requirement, unless it's specified in the work program, that there should be a dissemination and exploitation plan for all research, for all projects. And so clearly this has been thought of as a key indicator for the exploitation of funded activities.
So, there's a question, Professor Luby.
Well, this is not the question. This is a comment to the colleague Sládek, who was asking why social sciences and humanities are at the bottom. Two main priorities, I agree, which are propelling today in industry everywhere in the world are technologies, nanotechnology, biotechnology, medical technologies, and so on. But we should understand that in these headlines, social sciences and humanities are hidden and not very deeply. I can tell you as a researcher in nanotechnology that we have tremendous problems, for instance, with new disciplines which emerged in 2007. New journal was founded, Nanoethics, and we have deep problems with understanding of nanoethics in nanotechnology, which is involving new type of intellectual property rights, new philosophical questions like human enhancement, psychology, and so on. I could enumerate at least 10 different topics which should be solved with the help of our colleagues from social sciences and humanities. Thank you.
Thank you. Would someone add? Okay, so we got some 5 minutes. If there is one or two questions from the audience, it will be very nice to. Sorry?
Must be.
Of course, it must be. Okay, there is a question, Mr. Ratney.
So thank you. It's a complex and quite difficult question, I know, but it's a question to you, Mr. President, and to you, Dano, as well. It's a challenge for us to increase the participation, the Slovak participation in FP. It's a continuous, permanent challenge from probably framework 4th already, but now, just in a few words, what are the key messages in order to at least partially increase the Slovak participation? Thank you.
Okay. For me, there are actually two key messages. First one is to our government, Ministry of Education, Ministry of Economy, and other, even to the Slovak Academy of Sciences. We need to help the scientists to be more experienced, more successful. It means that we need to create a contact point at Brussels, like Cello. This is the first thing. The second is that we need to support more, as I said, domestic grant agencies. And the third one creates something like consultation or something like the committee which will help, because not, you know, I will tell you example how it is, for example, in the health. We need to find the scientists what is the really for this region because in the health, there is a many projects which are focused on IT, for the IT in the medicine, and only few laboratories or groups are working on the field. Another example is again the health. From the infection disease, there are only HIV infection, AIDS, and tuberculosis. We do not have any type of the project which are dealing with HIV or tuberculosis. The second key message is to the scientists, and it's very simple. We must be more active. We must write the project, find the partners. Otherwise, we will die if we will not be active, because we can't expect that, okay, I will write the project and I will expect that I will be successful. If, for example, the institution which has, let's say, 50 scientists, there must be minimum 5 FP projects or Horizon, which means 5 FP projects. If the successful rate is 20%, you can calculate how many projects you must write or apply. It's 25 projects you must apply to have roughly. It's a, it's a very simple calculation, but I know something similar was there was a. After many years, there was again the general call in the APVV, and we have found the institution and said, oh, they ignored this. They even didn't write any type of the project. We need to be more active. We must be realistic that if we will not write, we will not get it. That's a simple.
Okay, last message from every part of our panel.
Let me apologise for my rather brief answer before about what determines success in the framework programme. I was emphasising the work programme because that was the part I was most closely involved with this time. But I can absolutely assure you, because I work with Dimitri on this, is that we spent a huge amount of effort to actually try and understand what determines success, what are the factors behind that, the role of the NCP, the role of, for example, of participating in evaluations as part of the learning process. I mean, let's be frank, the importance of national investments in research also, because there is a very clear relationship, as we saw before in one of those slides, between national investments in research and success in the framework programme. We really have looked in very great detail at that, and I could say, although I'm adding words for Dimitri here, the widening participation activity has drawn very heavily on the thinking behind that. So I suppose, wanted to correct an impression I might have given by answering rather briefly, when in fact I can say that there's a huge amount of work gone into that.
Yeah, and completing that, I would like to remind you that we have now entered the most crucial phase on the preparation of the operational programs in the structural funds, because the Commission will expect within the next 4 to 5 months to receive the final versions of the operational programs that we are going to examine very with big attention. And there I think you have an opportunity and a chance to prepare well this synergy with the Horizon 2020. On the one hand, preparing the ground, prepare the organizations, look how you can prepare your stakeholders better, bring all your agencies together to have a good understanding and a good preparation. Don't think, and we have to get away from the idea that structural funds are only for infrastructure. They are there for helping you to many other things in terms, I would say, soft measures for preparation, and try to make the most out of this effort, because this is a huge chance for the country and for the whole of Europe.
Okay, as the final remarks, I think that what you ask, that extremely important is to really the intervention of the state, to prepare the strategy of the education, of the science. And this strategy must be independent if the left or the right party is in the government. It must be national strategy because it's only way how to increase the Slovak, Czech levels to participate on this European program. You know, and I think that you have the same experiences. I met a lot of politicians, and it's crazy because each politician know very well what the science is. No, nothing. Because it's impossible to apply the managing style of the science and education. It's impossible. It's creative activity with a very specific, and it's need a strategy. For example, what about the role of the humanicus, these sciences? Yes, for example, for us, which we are dealing with the global change, it's absolutely new role. We are preparing the project where around the table sitting physics of atmosphere, economy, sociologists, biologists. Incredible nice new projects because it's interconnection of this different area. But I think that when I saw this presentation of Mr. President, this income from the national product in the Czech, in the Slovak Republic, it's impossible to be on the same level as the Germany, as the France. It's impossible. Because it's necessary really to prepare the strategy, but I don't know.
Okay.
One comment to the strategy. The last autumn there was a meeting in Tokyo, Science and Technology in Society, and there was a really nice and clever sentence that they said that we need to have a less politics in the science and more science in the politics. And this will be also the good message how to create the strategy, because the first one must be the science and then the politics.
I think that we can finish here. So I would like to thank to all our panelists for their participation. We will meet in 50 minutes after 11 for the next panel, Industrial Leadership. Now we would like to invite you for a coffee break.